All right, welcome to the BizDev podcast. Today's guest is Michell Silberman from Snackadabra.
Thank you very much for having
Yeah,
me.
how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Can't complain, doing well. So I just wanted to start off asking a little bit about your company, Snackadabra. How'd you start? What was the beginnings? Why don't you tell our listeners how it all began?
Sure. So we're going to rewind back to the 7th grade where the idea was truly generated. In a public speaking class with my best friend Dana, we had the idea of cookie cups, a cup made out of a cookie coated on the inside with chocolate or frosting that can withstand milk. So
Okay.
a modern form of cookies and milk. It's America's favorite snack. It's super interesting. It's fun. It's exciting. And it was honestly just a joke between the two of us for many years.
And this started when you were in, said 7th grade?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And then I went to Drexel to study entrepreneurship, and the idea resurfaced in one of my classes, and my professor loved it. So I went back to my dorm room and started testing it out. And it's really grown into something amazing. And Snackadabra has gone far beyond just the cookie cup concept, although that was what the company was built on. That's the product that we're really known for. But we're really expanding into other product lines, even some tech products that are really exciting for us to bring to market, a podcast as well. So it was really like the launch pad, I think, of my company as the vessel for my creativity and what I want to bring to the world. But it is really just the starting point of
Many
my
other
career.
things.
Yeah, many
Awesome.
other things,
And-
exactly.
And what year did you start?
So officially in 2014, that's when I established the LLC.
Okay.
But I dove in more full-time like mid 2015, early 2016.
Okay, so it started like a type of school project,
Mm-hmm.
and then it went to, full-time career,
Yes.
all in. Awesome. What were some of the upfront challenges of starting a business from scratch?
There are many. So one was just not really knowing what to do, being completely fresh to the market. And although I had a little bit of work experience, it was mostly internship experience. So I had to learn a lot by stepping on the rake, making my own mistakes. Another piece was really understanding that I needed other people's help. I thought that I could do it all myself, that I wanted to do it all myself, that it was better if I put my own energy into something, but I realized the value of hiring the right people and putting the correct energies in place to really make my dream come true. The other piece was just like thinking big. I was very nervous about like selling. My concept and relationship to money was very iffy in the beginning of my business. And I think that that's kind of an amazing part of the journey though, because the biggest thing I can say as an entrepreneur is like, you have to get over yourself. You have to deal with yourself. You have to learn and grow beyond what you're capable of in the moment in order to grow it into what you want it to be in the future. So that was a big piece of it as well.
Okay. And then from starting just as a school side project to jumping in full-time, how did you acquire team members or employees? Because I know that might be an interesting shift, because you mentioned doing it all on my own, and I had to realize to figure out how to do it with others. What was the transition, maybe the light bulb, or hey, I want to move forward? How did you go through that to put a team together to help you out?
There was one moment, I'm not really exactly sure what it was sparked by, but I finally understood that a company is a whole. You as an individual, whether you're the CEO, the chief cookie officer in my sense, or any other important role in the business, you can't really put it all on your shoulders. You have a certain set of talents that you bring to the table, which is amazing. And it's really important to understand what your strong suits are. But it's also really important to understand where you're a bit weaker. And there are certain parts of the business that are necessary no matter what your weakness is. And on one hand, you can learn and develop yourself in those ways to an extent. But truly what you need to do is think of the company as a whole entity, and the different components of the company together make up the whole. A big thing that I did last year actually was hire a business coach.
Okay.
And he helped me truly understand how to properly set up a company culture. So we put together the core values of my company, which are the 10 cookie commandments.
Okay.
Cookie cups is 10 letters. We have one for each letter. So I'll just share the first one, which is C, collaboration. where 1 + 1 = 11. I was always really good at math, so let me dive in a bit deeper. 1 + 1 = 11 means that when two people come together, typically 1 + 1 = 2. The sum of the parts equals the whole. But when 1 + 1 = 11, it means that the sum of the parts are greater than the whole, because sometimes people vibe so well. You might have a really terrible date and you may walk away feeling like, oh my God, that was a -47 experience. Or you might have a friend and you feel so energized by them that it's a 5. That's why we say 1 + 1 = 11. When we bring people together, 11 to me also means infinity. It's like the two ones together.
Okay.
You never know what like 2 people's energy, 5 people's energy could truly result in. But if it's the right people, it's a lot more than 1 + 1 = 2.
Gotcha.
So that's like just one example of our core values. But basically, setting up the standard of our core values, changing the way that we interview people, updating the way that we train people, changing the way that we even run day-to-day, week-to-week meetings has completely set up a different standard in the company where we are genuinely a group of collaborative human beings. We run daily huddles, weekly meetings, and there's something to be said about, we even have a name, like we're the snack squad. We even have like a way that we do that, snack squad. Like literally everyone on my team, after every team huddle, that's how we end it. And I know that sounds like a little bit funny, a little bit intense, but it creates a sense of
camaraderie.
Yes.
Togetherness. We're a team.
Totally. And a sense of like belonging that I didn't even know could exist among my team. And it's not an accident. Anyone that's on my team currently was hired with the core values in mind. I've never had that before. In the past, it's always been like, oh, there's a friend of a friend or someone that's looking for something. Can you fit them into your company? And I always try to fit people into my organization. But now, unless people fit into my organization, they're not a part of it, period. We're very picky about who we pick. We're selective. We have a certain sense. I'd rather hire someone that aligns with our core values than someone that has the skill set that I want, because I think that skill set can be built, but core values and culture are something that are to an extent intuitive. I can teach you how to post on Instagram or how to make sales or how to do follow-up emails. Not completely, but to an extent, I can train certain aspects of the business. But can I train you to be a kind person? Can I train you to be collaborative? Can I train you to be optimistic? Maybe to an extent, but I'd rather find someone that enters the organization on an equal playing field in terms of what their values are as a human being than just on their skill set.
Okay. And then just out of curiosity, how long did it take you and your business coach to come up with the 10 commandments? Was it like a really long process? I really like that idea. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of the first time I've heard of like employee handbooks or like, different rules and regulations or core values, but never like 10 commandments. Like how long did that process actually take?
It took a while. I guess the big homework assignment that I got from him was lock yourself in a room and write down what's important to you. When you put together your core values, a certain percentage of that is core values that you naturally emit. The other segment of that is core values that are reach values for you. There are things that you're working on as an individual that you really want in your organization. When you get clear on those two different aspects, you put them together. 10 is a lot. It happened to be the 10 cookie commandments. I thought it was funny. I thought it was in line with the Bible. It honestly was a bit of humor for me, and I'm a very creative person and I have ideas on end, and it was even hard to land on 10. But if I could recommend something, like you start with 3 or 4, you can always add. The beauty of it is you can always add, you can always change, you can always edit because they're your core values. But when you get really clear on that, now when someone says to me, like, are you making a decision in your life, whether it's business or personal related, in line with your core values? I know exactly what my core values are. I'm super clear on it. I journaled about it. I slept on it. I thought about it. I ran it by friends. I ran it by family. I looked at it again. I edited it. And like, even to this day, when we do a team huddle, we do like a little team meeting every single day, and I end with a core value. And even sometimes to this day, I introduce a new one and I say, guest core value of the day is something that's not part of our 10 core values, but something that is relevant to me. And I think it's really important to continue being a teacher, whether it's for yourself or for your team, to continue learning. I have this like unsatiated curiosity when it comes to life. I always want to learn new concepts, master new things. And it's one of our core values for you and Cookie Cups is understanding. So developing yourself, because there's never really an end to the education of you as an individual, whether you're learning how to do a specific task technically or more from a spiritual end or whatever it might be. There's just so much to learn from being a human being. And I think if you stop learning, you're almost dead.
No, I definitely would agree. Now, could I ask you, just for our listeners' sake, would it be possible if we can attach your 10 commandments? Would that be okay?
Oh, yeah, just that would be fantastic.
It sounds like you put a lot of work and
we
really
did.
thought it would help someone who's just starting their business. Maybe they're a single entrepreneur right now. They're trying to figure it out. I think that'd be a really good reference. So, yeah, we'll put that in the show notes or have a link for a PDF.
Thank you.
So, when creating a cookie cup, I mean, that's a product essentially that didn't exist and you created it from scratch, more or less. I've never created a product before. What's the process A to Z of, creating, finding the raw materials, or I don't even know where to begin?
I guess the process of creating a product might vary product to product. I'm happy to share it in terms of a cookie cup. So, I mean, the recipe itself took years to put together because it's not just a classic cookie recipe. It needs to hold up to hot and cold liquid. It needs to work in our molds. It needs to, like when we do a drop test, like we take our cookie cups, we put them in packaging and drop them off a second floor story building. They survive. Yeah. That's pretty crazy, right? And
for a cookie.
Yeah, for a cookie. But also in line with that, I want to use high quality ingredients and stick to the integrity of what I believe as a human being, which is providing high quality products. And that's really tricky. So, I mean, the process was really interesting. It was a lot of like guess and check, try things out, have it not work, and try something else out. And even to this day, I'm open to the formula of a cookie cup changing because I know like it's the best it can be in this moment with the resources that I have right now. But if my resources change, if the information input that I have changes, I should be open to making it better. Do I think I'm the best all be all product that's out there? No, but that's part of the beauty. It's like an ever evolving, but that's more of like an approach to life. I just really believe in consistently evolving. So like our product process has changed. We have amazing equipment. My father is an engineer. We joke that he's the chief cookie engineer. And he really pushed me to speed up the technological aspects of production in order to make production easier for me. Because when I started out, I was making everything by hand. Like I have like insane hand muscles. Like I know that sounds funny. Yeah, it was just like
every order you were,
an order would come in and then I would manufacture it.
Yourself.
Now,
like that. Wow.
But like right now, as we speak, my team is baking, which is a really big thing, right? Like a year ago, that was not the case. Every time we were baking, I was in the kitchen because I was the baker. I was so many different roles and aspects of the company all fell on me. And a big step of growth was understanding like, what are my true strong suits of the company? Yeah, I have an idea. Like yesterday, we did an event in Manhattan and I had an idea. One of the girls on my team thought of a lavender cookie cup. One of my favorite things to pair with lavender is Earl Grey.
Okay.
So I said to them, okay, lavender cookie cup, love it, do your thing. I want Earl Grey whipped cream. Super random. It's not that difficult to make. I had the idea. I didn't lift a finger when it came to executing the Earl Grey whipped cream. They did it flawlessly. And part of it is like finding the right people to trust on your team to execute on part of your dream. Because being the CEO or being the chief cookie officer, in my sense, is having the ideas. Do I have the time and energy and resources to achieve all of them on my own? Absolutely not. How could it be a company if it was all me? It couldn't be. When it was all me, I hated when people would say this to me, especially my father. He's like my biggest cheerleader and my biggest critic. He would always say like, it's a hobby. And it would bother me so much. but it's really become a business because what I've learned is how to aggregate the resources, empower other people to the best of their abilities to bring to the table what's needed in order to make us successful. Am I the best pastry chef there is? No. Am I creative? Am I innovative? Am I excited? Am I passionate? Can I tell a great story when it comes to food? Yes. Can I sell? Yes. And that's like the role that I've learned I needed to step into. But if I'm the head salesperson, can I also be the head pastry chef? No.
Yeah.
And that was a very big thing for me. Like one of my favorite books, actually.
E-Myth?
Thank you.
Okay. No, yes. I was actually thinking. I took a guess.
It's totally the E-Myth because the example in the book is the best pie baker in all the land opens up a pie shop because that's what we think to do, right? And for me, I thought that too. I thought like every cookie cup that goes out from our factory, I need to inspect, I need to frost, I need to package. And when you think that way, it stifles your growth because you're in a technical role. You can't continue doing the technical aspects of your business and grow it into a multi-million-dollar company because it's all on you. You need to really understand and realize what you bring to the table and what you're not best at, or some things that you think you should be best at. If someone can do it 80% as efficiently as you, someone else should be doing that role. Yeah. And that was very difficult for me to like kick myself out of certain roles of my business.
So how hard, because I could just imagine, entrepreneurs with maybe 1 or 2 or 3 team members, they're trying to bump it up and, take themselves out of their, daily tasks of the business.
Sure.
How hard was it to kind of, hey, I'm not going to be the chief, I don't know what you called it, the chief chef or the chief.
Yeah.
How hard? Like, I don't know. I don't.
Right now it's the whisk wizard and the snack sorcerer.
Okay. I don't know.
I had to hire people for those roles. It was really hard. It was very, very hard. And actually at the time it was someone else that really, sorry, I just hit the microphone. It was someone else that took over that role in my business. And I was really uncomfortable.
Were you like?
I remember the first time I didn't show up to a production run and I was just like sitting and looking at the clock like, oh my God, should I go check in on them? Is it going to be okay? Is like, what's going to happen? And the truth is, if you think about your journey, let's say you're a baker. Your journey as a baker, you're going to have off days. Sometimes it could be literally the humidity in the air could mess with your production run. It could be one time this happened, actually twice this happened on our team, where somebody doubled the sugar in the recipe by accident. They didn't realize they measured out the sugar and we're totally screwed. That whole batch is gone. One time I made that mistake. One time someone on my team made that mistake.
That's all money out.
It's all money out the door. Yeah. Not just in the trash, like the physical money from the product is out the trash, but then the time spent cleaning up the mess and getting it out of the molds and like, it's just a mess,
and
right?
That mental energy thinking.
But you have to know like your team is going to make mistakes. You as a leader, you're watched so closely. When someone makes a mistake, who are you in that moment? And I had a moment like this with an intern about a year ago. Like I empowered her to take charge of, I don't even want to call her an intern. She was an integral part of the company. I empowered her to do the baking without me. And it like worked for a few times. And then I came into the kitchen once and all of a sudden like the cookie cups were just not coming out of the molds. And the mistake looked so similar to something I had done 2 years ago, which was double the sugar in the recipe. And she, at the first moment, she didn't acknowledge that something was wrong. Everything in production was going off. Like the product wasn't coming out well from the oven. It wasn't demolding from the pan. It was just a mess. And I said, hey, like, is everything okay? And she was like, yeah, it's okay. So I like watched as this person was messing up, right? And then all of a sudden she was like, you know what? It's actually not working. I don't know what happened. And I was like, well, based on my experience, here's what happened. Yeah. This is what we messed up. And she got so nervous. She got so like anxious and upset. And I saw that. And I knew there was a moment. I could yell. I could be calm. I could freak out. There were so many paths as the chief cookie officer that I could take. And I remember choosing, okay, this is what's so. Let's clean up this mess. It's okay. I've made that mistake. Let's look at our systems. Why did this happen? How about when we mix a batch of dough, we test 2 cookie cups and we make sure that the dough is right. Because if we know that whole batch of dough is off, we can get rid of it before we mold like hundreds or thousands of cups that get stuck in the molds, you know? So we took it back to the system and we said, what can we do better? And I remember her being so hard on herself. I didn't even have to be hard on her because she was so upset with herself. And it, as a leader, people are watching you like a hawk. And if you yell at your team in a vulnerable moment like this, do you think they're going to raise the white flag and tell you when something is wrong? Absolutely not.
They're going to hide it from you.
Yeah, they're going to hide it.
And then you're not going to know till, guess what, a customer reaches out to you.
Oh, did that happen to you?
No, I'm just saying, you know, that's a possibility.
That is totally a possibility. So who are you in those difficult moments? And I feel like just as much as she messed up, it could have been me if I was in charge of it. And who would I want for a boss in that moment?
Yeah.
What would I want to learn from that moment? Okay, so I messed up. You know, that's okay.
Oh, and letting them know, hey, we are a company, we strive for excellence, but we are humans.
Yeah,
and
we make room for human error.
Yeah.
And like, you want to humanize that moment. And if that individual wasn't hard on themselves, if they had a I don't care attitude, a passive attitude, I think I would have handled it differently. But based on who that individual was and how they took it, I felt like I had a duty in a certain way that I had to deal with it in order to bring about the most value to the company as a whole, to that individual from that standpoint, and to myself. You know, I had to rise as a leader in a different way that I'm not really a yeller as it is. Like if I'm yelling, something is really wrong. So wrong. I'm much more like if I just raise my tone, people know that something is off because that's the culture of our environment, period.
Gotcha. So just to give a mental image to our listeners with the cookie cup, like what are some of the applications you can use it for? I know I've had them. They're great. They're amazing.
Thank you.
I'm not too much into sweets, but I do love cookie cups.
We're coming out with a savory line.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
awesome.
cheese and all. Yeah. So basically a cookie cup is similar to a shortbread cookie in the shape of a cup coated with a lining of either dark chocolate, cream cheese frosting. Sometimes there's a really fun rim. We dip them into sprinkles or hand crushed peppermint or coconut. I mean, there's just like so much that you can do with the product. And what it can be used for, originally the concept was cookies and milk with a modern twist. So you can fill the cup with milk.
Yeah.
You can also do a hot shot of espresso, hot cocoa, a cocktail. That's become one of our like best sellers.
Okay.
We do milkshake bars with them, ice cream sundae bars. There's like so much fun that you can really have with the product. And the reason that I'm in the food industry is I think food brings people together. It's the center of human connection, whether you're rummaging through the snack drawer with your best friend in second grade, or you're an adult and you're sharing a meal with a loved one, or maybe you're having a fantastic family dinner, or it's the holiday season. There's just something that like food just brings people together.
Oh, yeah.
And my family is so toasty. Everyone has like a toast and amazing words of wisdom to impart on each other. And the cookie cup is a food that you can physically toast with. So it just really fits into who I am as a person. And it's fun. It's interactive. It's customizable. And I've learned so much through it. I think like Snackadabra for me is my vehicle of growth. It's my vehicle for creativity. There are other product lines that we plan on releasing through the company. Like right now we're working on savory. So an everything bagel, shortbread.
Oh, wow.
Cookie shell.
So what's your process of like you and your team of creating a new product or a new line? Like how's that work?
It depends to what level of customization. For example, we have like a killer cookie dough recipe, a killer cream cheese frosting recipe. We can infuse the cream cheese frosting with any flavor. We can infuse the cookie dough with any flavor. But now that we're working on savory, I actually hired some fantastic Drexel co-ops.
Okay.
Particularly for this role. And we're collaborating with Drexel University. They have a food lab program. And my team is part of the food lab program, creating new product extensions or expansions for us. So we've been creative every step of the way. like, I think that one of my magic powers is resourcefulness.
Okay.
You know, you got to ask for something, you have vision, and then ask for the resources to make it happen. But the resources are all there.
Mm-hmm.
So these students, I'm really letting them run with it. And a great example of that was yesterday. We were in Manhattan in Rockefeller Center for a huge benefit event for City Meals on Wheels. And the product that they wanted to release a few months ago was the Lavender Cookie Cup. So I let them run with it. It wasn't something I had the idea for. One of the girls on my team is obsessed with lavender, and she was like, please, like, let me play with it. She played with it in the kitchen at Drexel. We loved the flavor, and she told me what ingredients to order, and we made it happen. But I took it to the next level. I was like, I love Earl Grey. Make an Earl Grey whipped cream. You know, let's like vanilla infused milk. And we did that, and it was so satisfying to watch people interact with our product and our creativity. And like, cookies and milk is super classic. So of course we had like a chocolate chip cookie with chocolate milk and a fire torch s'mores. That's like the s'moregasm bar is one of our classics, right? But we also want to bring something very creative to the table. So we took a flavor profile that really worked with the process that is already tried and tested, and we implemented. Now, does every product or flavor that we test make it to market? No. We test a lot of stuff. We have too many taste tests in the office. I mean, we have a blast with it. And that's part of it. You cast a wide net, and then you pick what's going to work or what you think is going to make it in the market. When we launched the Lavender Cookie Cup online, we didn't get that many orders for it, to be honest. But it's there as an option. And actually what I found with my customers, when we do events, which is the bread and butter of our business right now, they don't always want to pick the flavors. They say, what's the best, or what's seasonal, or what do you think matches with the theme of our event? And they kind of let us help them guide through the process of really what they want. Sometimes it is specific, and either way, I love it. I love when a customer knows exactly what they want, and I love when a customer is more open-minded and lets us pick. I think either way, we're going to be really successful because we believe in that collaborative process. If you know what you want, we're going to give you exactly what you want. And if you don't, we're going to guide you to what's most possible, or we might ask you some questions about your palate or your experience or what you like and make it happen for you. And I love that we have that type of autonomy. Like, if you ask for something specific, we're able to really
customize it.
We're able to customize. We're able to bring that to market. And that's something that I think is really special. Like, in this whole new era of QSR, like quick service restaurants, right? Chipotle really killed it for us in this industry. Pick your base, pick your protein, pick your toppings. People love that. You don't have that many options, the permutation of your options. I don't know what it is for Chipotle. I should know it off the top of my head, but let's say a few hundred, right? If you permeate the quantity of options you have at Chipotle. Yeah. So with my company, you can also permeate the options, but people love that. Even if it's like the tiniest thing, like the theme of my wedding is lilac. Can you do lilac sprinkles? Yes.
Oh, wow.
Does it really mess with like our production line? No. But does it make you feel amazing that we were able to go above and beyond for you? Yes. So we want to be able to do that.
And do you ship all across the U.S.?
Yeah, all over the country. We actually just started working with a cafe. I'm going to do a little shout out for Bean Sprouts Cafe.
Oh, where are they at?
They have 9 locations.
Okay.
So we shipped all over the country. Most of their locations are like on the West Coast, a lot of California. Awesome. We had some Arizona. But it was a really cool order because they tested it out in one of their test locations in California. They tested it, I want to say, for like 2 to 3 months, and it did well. So then we launched on all of their menus, their spring menu. So it's just been so exciting.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
And I know you do, or I heard you kind of do different, I might not have the right terminology, but different cookie events.
Yes.
Okay, so can you explain to the listeners what's that about, or kind of what's
So the concept of events, I think, has been such a big win for us because on one hand, let's break down events into different categories. So one type of event is a marketing event. So a marketing event is kind of where we sponsor, like we provide free products, but with the hopes of converting into customers. So it's I would say a pretty reasonable format of marketing, dollars well spent. Okay. So there are a lot of like wedding shows or stuff like that where if we just provide product, we can engage in that market.
Get your name, get potential leads, or someone
totally.
sees. Yeah.
Totally. And I would say the gold is all in the follow-up. So we try to get as much information as we can when we're at the event. Like, when is your wedding? What's your theme? What's your venue? What's your date? So that when we follow up, we have those different details so we can follow up. On the flip side, there's another form of events which we call trade shows. That's purely marketing, and we actually spend money to be at trade shows.
Okay.
So we're extra picky about those because it's not just free product and our labor. It goes beyond that level, and it's like there is a fee for just participating in that event. So we're very picky with that, and we've done our fair share in the last year. Actually, this month, we're doing the biggest trade show that we've ever done, which is the Fancy Food Show.
Oh, where's that at?
It's at the Javits Center in New York City.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I've actually walked the show for many, many years. I'm a huge fan. I've been very scared about being part of it, but this year I just feel like it's time. Like, we're past that threshold. I'm down to spend the money to be part of the event. On top of that, we need to spend money on, you know, our labor, our samples, marketing materials, travel. Like, there are all these different elements. So it ends up costing you an arm and a leg when you're a small business and you don't necessarily have a marketing budget to play with. You have to be very picky with how you spend this so-called budget. But I'm very excited. And then the next piece is paid events. And that's like the home run because our margin on events is a lot better than our margin on our wholesale product. So I love that piece. But our events are also used as a marketing event.
Yeah.
Like, if someone does a wedding with us and they love it and their friends are at that wedding, there's a higher chance that we're going to get hired.
Yeah.
So that's like our bread and butter. That's what we strive for these days.
And what's that? Like, you kind of have, I know you mentioned like build your own cookie cup. Is it the same type of?
So we customize. It really depends on the customer. Like, we're doing a wedding later this month and it's Mexican themed, which we're really excited about. So we're doing a churro cheesecake cookie cup, an espresso yourself cookie cup, which is espresso frosting, fudge ripple, vanilla cake, and a chocolate chip shell. And then we're doing 2 cookie cup cocktails. One is a pineapple margarita, and the other one is a Bailey's cocktail with a fire torch s'mores. And actually,
that's very cool aesthetic, you know.
Yeah, we call it the S'moregasm bar because it's really as good as it sounds. And actually, the bride, it's really interesting. She found us on a website called Easy Cater because she, at her role, like in her day-to-day job, she hires the caterers. And she found us on that website. I was like, this is cool. I don't know if this is going to work for work, but I'm getting married soon and I don't want to do a cake. So this is cool. So we started talking.
That's a spin-off from the traditional wedding cake.
Totally. And you never know how your sales are going to come to you.
Yeah.
So we connected and me and her very much so vibed. And actually her husband or her future husband is obsessed with s'mores. So as her wedding gift to him, she's doing the cookie cup cocktail bar with s'mores. And he has no idea.
Oh, wow.
It's very cool. It's very cool. Like different and faux pas. And but their whole wedding, the whole concept behind their wedding is very different. And what we're finding is that when people are booking these events, they want something out of the box. People want to stand out. They want to do something different. They love the customization. So we're able to do that piece for her. We're able to satisfy a very specific type of customer, which I think is awesome. So that's like another form of event.
Yeah, I'm sure they want to take pictures and post them.
Yeah, it's Instagrammable. It's fun.
That's pretty smart.
And then like the last form of event for us is a vendor event where we come on site, we set up a table or a tent and we sell on site.
Okay.
And
like at fairs or art shows or something.
And I have to be honest, it's probably my least favorite form of event.
Okay.
Because like when you go into something and you know that it's purely for marketing, then you rely on that. Or if you know that it's already like a made sale and you can rely on a certain amount of income to come in from that event, that's really cool. But it's kind of a toss-up, and a lot of those events are outdoors and it's very tricky. It's weather dependent, or our product sometimes is a really great fit and we kill it at an event like that. Or sometimes it's not a great fit at all and it really hurts us to put out that level of like effort. Yeah, without really being able to rely on a certain level of return. So I try to treat some of those events as marketing events, but they're very like mentally, physically monetarily straining. So we have to be very picky. So we're trying to scale back on that form of event, scale up on paid events, or be very picky with our trade shows.
Okay. Now, I know you had the idea for the business or of the product at least when you were 7 years old.
In 7th grade.
Oh, I'm sorry.
13 years old now. That's cool.
So just for our listeners, I know you had that as your dream. What advice would you give our listeners if they're, they, when they were young, had a business idea and they're kind of, contemplating, should I do the business, should I not? What would be like the number one advice you'd give somebody who's looking to start a business or create a product?
I'm going to resort back to one of our core values, which is steps. Take action step by step. Nike said it best, just do it.
Mm-hmm.
You have to get out there. Like, analysis paralysis is so painful. You could get really stuck in your head. You can have an idea and like, has my idea changed and shifted since I originally had it or since I originally physically started? Yes. You have to be comfortable with a certain level of change and
comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yes. Just get comfortable being uncomfortable. So well said.
But
way easier said than done.
Yeah.
But it needs to be done if you're going to be an entrepreneur, because otherwise it's not possible. It's not possible to be comfortable consistently and be an entrepreneur, because that's not the definition of entrepreneur, right? You got to get out of your comfort zone and you have to really work on yourself as an individual. That could mean many different things, and that's super dependent person to person. But if you're not willing to get out of your comfort zone, then go work for someone, period. That's what I have to say. Yeah. It's totally okay. You could lead a very happy life doing that. But if there's like this energy inside of you, something brewing, something that tells you like, I have this creative idea and I want to share it with the world, you have to be okay with going against the grain. It's not easy to do that. It's not comfortable to do that.
Get used to rejection and problems and
yeah.
Yeah.
And you get used to it by doing it.
Mm-hmm.
I hated it at first. I had so much trouble asking for the sale. I was just sharing with a friend, like I would do this like fantastic cookie cup tasting. Like if you were a caterer, I'd bring you like 6 different cookie cups, do the cocktails, taste it with you, and then at the end be like, do you like it? Instead of like, okay, how many cases? When are we doing an event?
What's your PO number?
Yeah.
let's make it happen.
Can I have your credit card information? Yeah. Like I was so uncomfortable, and like I've had to work on my personal relationship with money because I grew up with a very certain set of what money means. You have to work very hard for your money. I had this whole idea and way of being around money, and I realized it wasn't working, and it wasn't going to work if I was going to be a successful businesswoman. So I started working on it, and
I'm sure with your business coach helped you out.
He did. He helped me out a lot. And like, I'm not where I want to be just yet when it comes to money and my relationship to money, but I'm in process and I'm in progress. And it's really important to understand that like sometimes we take action and we want to see the fruits of our labor very quick. And that's not always realistic. To some extent it is. Like your energy level changes pretty quick when you start doing stuff in line with who you are, your authenticity, like what you want to put out in the world. But you don't always see the financial results that you want. You don't always see the human results that you want right away. There's a great book for that called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And he talks about being consistent with your action day in and day out. And over time, you're going to see a huge shift. You're not going to see it right away. Like you can't expect like all of a sudden you stop eating cheeseburgers. You can't expect to be in shape right away. But if you stop eating cheeseburgers for a very long time, and then you start working out for a very long time, you will see the results of that labor. And that's like a more long-term commitment. You have to be okay with deferred gratification if you're going to get into business for yourself.
Wow. Yeah. Well answered. So Michelle, within your business, in the past 6 months, have you had an aha moment? You may have touched on it.
Yes, I've had so many.
But what was kind of the one that might add value to the listeners? That's something you didn't think of, maybe popped up that kind of really struck home
in business.
And it could be something simple, or personally, either.
I'm going to go with personal.
That's fine.
There's one personal thing that's been It relates to my business core values, but it really relates to my life right now. So one of our core values is optimism. Smile in the face of any situation. And I'd say like one of my superhero powers is to be optimistic no matter what. And what I've learned in the past few weeks or the past few months of my life is that I can put optimism in two separate categories. The first category is perfect optimism. It's your ideal. Like my ideal is that the business is going to work out a certain way and that's how it's going to be. And that's my perfect optimism. Mm-hmm. And the second path is universal optimism. The universe has its plan. I'm going to do the best that I can. It's not always going to look the way that I want it to. But I know overall the universe has its plan and it's going to work out as long as I act in correspondence with my core values, as long as I keep exerting effort and trying and energy into what I'm doing, it's going to end up being what it's supposed to be. And that's like a much broader view of the world and to some extent much more difficult because sometimes you have to accept that if you take a snapshot of this moment, it doesn't look the way that you want it to. But maybe in the grand scheme of life, the difficult moment that you're facing now in your business or your personal life is really what will get you to where you want to go later on. It's not always comfortable. It's not always what you want it to be, but universal optimism kind of encompasses that. And as long as you're being who you believe you should be in this world, things are going to happen for you instead of to you.
Gotcha. That's really deep. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. As we kind of wind up here, just a few more questions. I wanted to see, Michelle, what individual in your life has been the most inspiring to you and why?
It's a good question. I've had quite a few. I'll say my dad for one.
Okay.
And I truly watched him go from being engrossed in a corporate environment, working for a huge company that he had worked for, I want to say like 20 years.
Okay.
To moving on to his next step and diving into his own form of entrepreneurship has been really, really big for me. I watched him go from being very careful about his spending to understanding the value of investing in personal development, investing in vacation, investing in health and wellness. And a huge part of watching my father's journey is what had me embark on my own entrepreneurial journey. I went from like a very black and white view of what the world should be to being extremely supported on my own path of entrepreneurship because I watched my dad go through his own path. And as I said before, he's my biggest fan and my biggest critic, and I love him to his core. And sometimes I wish I could shake him and tell him like it's easier than you think it is, or get some more sleep than you do. But he's just been one of the most impactful influences on my life, and I'm very grateful.
And did he have his business before you, or like was
yes,
that kind
just
of
slightly before
Okay.
me? He started dabbling part-time in his business. As I went away to college, and I think that was a big thing that like pushed him to really, he fully supported me, but there was a time at the start of this journey where he was like, are you sure this is like, you're meant for business, but are you sure this is the business that you want? And my dad is by far not involved in the food industry, and he still has a million opinions about being in the food industry and what I should be doing and so on. And it took me a while to grow up and like kind of like sever that connection with my family in terms of like, I always felt like they would know what's right for me. And I got to a point in my life where I understood like they have the best intention for me, but they don't always know what's right in my business. They're not in my industry. They're not in my business day to day. They don't always know. So I've learned how to make my decisions independent of what people I care about think for me.
Awesome. Great. Michelle, just want to see, how can people learn more about you or the product, or just get to see like website, email, or what's your website?
So please check out snackadabra.com. I'm going to spell it for you. The only vowel is A. You can't mess it up. So it's Snackadabra.com. And if you tune in a few weeks, we're actually launching foodmagicpodcast.com. So I'll be launching my own podcast, which
and
is
what's that
pretty
about
exciting.
briefly?
Yeah, so our tagline is the secret recipe to success of the food and beverage industry, because it's a very particular flavor of business that I love and I enjoy. But so many people that come into my industry are creative, artistic. They have this like amazing energy about them, but they don't always understand how to build the business structure around it. So I really want to capture that audience and share like it's my own personal journey, similar to yours, of learning how to be successful in my industry. So I have like so many questions and so many people that I'd love to talk to about it. But instead of just keeping that all for myself, I'd love to tape it. I'd love to audio tape it and share it with others, because I think it's of value. Like over 70 to 80% of businesses have to do with food and beverage.
Wow.
Mom and pop shops are, they're cafes, they're restaurants, they're little bodegas, and there's so much to be learned in our industry. So I want to make sure that I can help uncover the secrets to success.
And one more time, the podcast name?
Foodmagicpodcast.com.
Okay. Awesome. That's great. Michelle, thank you so much for coming in, the BizDev podcast.
Thank you for having me,
I learned
Eddie.
a lot, those 10 commandments. I will attach that on the show notes, and maybe a PDF file will be able to, someone can grab that and look at it. But Michelle, thank you so much, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah, that's it.